Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are tackling two of the world's most enduring legends, Atlantis and Lemuria. But we're going to look at them in a completely new way, not as just a couple of myths, but as something, well, something way more interesting. Okay, so let's just dive right into this idea because it's a big one. What if these stories aren't just fantasy? What if they're actually fragmented echoes of a real, shared human past? Like two sides of the same ancient coin, just remembered differently by totally different cultures. So to really get to the bottom of this, we have to start with the most basic question, the one that gets so many people tangled up. This is it. This is the question that trips everybody up. But you know what? If you actually dig into the original stories, the answer becomes surprisingly clear. And it really helps us see the bigger picture.
So the short answer is a hard no. But, and this is the crucial part, they're definitely related. Think of them less like identical twins and more like two very different siblings. Each one has its own unique story, its own personality. So let's open the case file on the first one.
Now, this is the story most of us know, right? It's the one that comes to us from the ancient Western world, famously documented by none other than the philosopher Plato. And this isn't some vague campfire story. Not at all. Plato gives us a ton of specifics. A location in the Atlantic, a super advanced empire-driven society, and then, bam, a sudden, catastrophic end. The whole thing was designed as a cautionary tale, a warning about the dangers of hubris. And this idea really captures the whole vibe of the Atlantic tradition. It's all about external mastery, controlling the world around you through power and technology. Now let's see how that stacks up against a very different kind of lost world. So now we're going to shift oceans and really shift our entire mindset. We're going from the Atlantic to the Pacific to explore a completely different kind of memory. This one has its origins in more modern times, but it taps into some very ancient oral traditions. Wow, the contrast with Atlantis is just stark. There's no violent end here, no big explosion. It's a gradual fading away. The story of Lemuria isn't a warning at all. It's a memory, a story of a society that was all about harmony with nature, with wisdom passed down not in books, but through stories. So the core idea of Lemuria is basically the polar opposite of Atlantis. It's all about mastering your inner self, not the external world. So if they're so different, why on earth does everyone always mix them up? Okay, this is where the historical wires get crossed. And honestly, it's pretty easy to see why these two completely distinct tales eventually became one big, blurry legend over time. I mean, you can see why the lines got so blurred, right? Both are these incredible stories of a lost golden age, a pre-Ice Age civilization wiped out by a great flood. It's almost too easy to just smush them together into one generic lost continent myth. But when we do that, we lose the really distinct and powerful message that each story carries. So let's put them side by side. This is where the distinction becomes crystal clear, and it becomes an incredibly useful tool for actually understanding these legends. This table just lays it all out perfectly. You've got Atlantis, an Atlantic empire built on power, ending in sudden disaster, a warning written down by Plato. And then you have Lemuria, a Pacific society built on harmony that just sort of faded away, a memory preserved in spoken stories. They are two fundamentally different stories about our past. Yeah, it's a cautionary tale, right? It's about the violent end of an empire, a warning against ambition and hubris that has echoed through Western thought for literally thousands of years. It's a completely different feel. It's this nostalgic memory of a way of life that's slowly receded. A story that's designed for remembrance, meant to preserve a totally different kind of wisdom. So why does getting this right even matter?
Well, it's not just about winning a trivia night, I'll tell you that. It fundamentally changes how we can use these incredible stories.
When you really see this distinction, you can cut right through all the noise. You can spot when someone is just mashing the two myths together. And you start to understand that these aren't just stories about lost continents, they're powerful archetypes for how a civilization can exist and, maybe more importantly, how it can end. Ultimately, what we're left with isn't one myth, but two parallel echoes of a lost world, one from the Atlantic, one from the Pacific. And together, they leave us with a really fascinating question. In our own civilization, right now, what are we choosing to build and remember? Our power or our harmony?